So as Tony talked about her daughter, I was thinking about really a couple of my kids, but I'll focus on my middle. So my son, who's 5.
Okay.
I feel like he's all over the map sometimes. We thought, oh, he's going to be an engineer. He really likes to take things apart and put them back together. He loves trains. He's loved trains for the past 3 years. So see some melancholy, but then his teacher this year has said that he's one of the 2 most social kids in his class.
Really?
That all the kids think he's their friend.
How sweet.
Sometimes when he comes home, we ask him, who'd you play with? He'll have a name and it'll be consistent for a little while. And then he'll say, I didn't have anybody today, but like usually there's somebody there. And then he has these temper tantrums. On the way home last night, I was leaving work kind of late and driving home. My wife was already at a restaurant with our kids. I found out later and ended up inviting another friend with her kids.
Okay.
And so I just knew I was coming into something. I was not going into a lack of stress situation.
Or harmony.
I was going into a stressful situation. But I didn't know completely what it was. She was just, my wife alluded to something big's happening. So I found out later what it was he just started yelling in the restaurant, and was getting angry and wanted my wife's attention. He had let her know that along the way, and she was trying to communicate to him, like, I'm gonna pay attention to you. I'm talking to my friend right now. Wait, basically. And he didn't want any of that. So he started yelling. Then my 3-year-old also started yelling, wanted her as well.
Right.
So our friend took the 3-year-old away so my wife could work with our son.
Yeah. And those are great examples because that's where I'm talking about understanding it to the core. Because we could immediately think because he started yelling, he must be a red, or he's doing a tantrum of a yellow, right? But really what I heard in that story, the thread, was still very deeply blue because there's the order, right? Even the classroom setting is something that when a melancholy is in their strengths, which children are a lot, right? Just his politeness, just his, ability to just be there and be thoughtful has the appearance that he's very social because people are attracted to melancholies that are safe, right? But the fact is, you said he's named one name when you asked him. He didn't name, I can't, like my daughter would say when she came home from school, I'd say, who did you play with? I had a new friend. In fact, I had 3. Who are they? Well, I don't know their names. I just know
they're my new best friends.
They're my new best friends. Yeah, exactly. And even now, as a senior, she says the same thing, right? But he actually named a name. Do you see? So this is listening to understand. Okay, this is another really key point because most people listen to respond or answer or react. Halfway through of what they're listening, they're already forming something to say, right? So but if you listen to understand, you guys will also see that kind of thread that goes through your sweet, very melancholy boy with the order. The tantrum, this is again where I want you to be very good at listening to the words and how to apply them. The melancholy gets very frustrated, where the choleric gets very angry. Actually, the second one that gets the most angry is the sanguine, believe it or not. They're the quickest to anger, right, when they don't get their way. But the melancholy, on the other hand, gets frustrated. And that's what it sounded like he was getting at your wife, was frustrated because he was not being heard.
That's right. The other day, he was trying to do something impossible, basically.
Right.
Was what I was telling him. He was trying to put 2 trains together, link them together, and there was no link, and continued to get frustrated. And I was thinking, he's getting angry. It was really frustration.
Yeah. Do you identify that with that?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
For me to get angry, I've been frustrated for a while first.
Right. And when you're not being heard, see, that's one of the melancholy things is being heard and understood. So when you're constantly trying to be heard, have you felt that same frustration that he's talking about?
I think so, yeah. Because I would be less likely to have a drive-through moment and much more likely to have a being frustrated to the point where that feels like the only option.
or to just leave, right?
Yeah, or just leave, right?
Yeah, that's it.
And I guess your son probably couldn't.
He couldn't just leave. So.
No.
Yeah. But do you see how we're taking this now from way high, to lower and lower and deeper, right? Okay. Do you see that?